Hello, everyone. My name is Connor Rosinski, and today I would like to talk to all of you about an issue that is very important to me, which is raising the minimum wage. Imagine working 8 or 10 hours on your feet and still going home to a stack of bills you can't pay. Imagine choosing between groceries and medication, or between rent and childcare. For millions of Americans earning the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, this is their daily life. The federal minimum wage has not increased since 2009. In that time, the cost of living has soared, but wages have stayed frozen. Raising the minimum wage is not just economically sound, but also morally necessary. The need for action is undeniable. According to the Center for Economic and Policy Research, minimum wage workers 2 years ago made nearly 40% less than their 1968 counterparts did when the minimum wage was at its most generous, worth about $12 in today's dollars. That means the minimum wage has effectively moved backwards for more than half a century. The National Low Income Housing Coalition reports that there is no state in the U.S. where a full-time minimum wage worker can afford a modest 2-bedroom rental home. Not one. Even a 1-bedroom apartment is out of reach in 93% of U.S. counties. Last year, the Economic Policy Institute reported that raising the federal minimum wage to $17 by 2030 would impact 22,247,000 workers across the country, or 15% of the U.S. wage-earning workforce. These are not abstract statistics. They represent cashiers, home care workers, food service employees, and essential workers who kept our country running during the pandemic. This is a crisis of dignity, fairness, and basic economic survival. Unlike what some may believe, the minimum wage does strengthen the economy. A study from the Center for American Progress found that an increase in the minimum wage will increase community-level economic activity and support local businesses. When low-wage workers earn more, they spend more in their communities, at grocery stores, restaurants, and local businesses. University of California researchers have consistently found that increasing the minimum wage does not have a negative effect on employment. Notably, when California implemented a $20 minimum wage for fast food workers in 2024, it did not reduce employment. This directly contradicts the common claim that raising wages kills jobs. As reported by the National Employment Law Project, studies have consistently shown that higher minimum wages reduce food insecurity, increase access to healthier foods, and help lift families out of poverty. When families can afford stable housing, nutritious food, and health care, children thrive and communities become stronger. Ethically, a society should ensure that full-time workers can meet their basic needs. It is unreasonable, and frankly immoral, to expect people to work full-time and still live in poverty. Raising the minimum wage affirms the dignity of work and the value of human effort. Now let's imagine two possible futures. In the first future, we do nothing. In this future, millions of workers will continue to fall behind. Families will remain trapped in cycles of poverty. Children will grow up in unstable housing. Communities will face higher rates of hunger, illness, and financial insecurity. Businesses will struggle with high turnover as workers leave in search of better pay. Now let's imagine a different future. A future where a full-time job means stability, not struggle. Where parents can afford childcare and groceries. Where workers stay longer in their jobs because they can actually support their families. Where local businesses benefit from increased consumer spending. where communities grow stronger because people have the resources to thrive. This is not a fantasy. It is the documented outcome in states and cities that have already raised their minimum wages. Now, some will argue that raising the minimum wage will hurt small businesses or lead to the loss of jobs. This concern is understandable, but it is not supported by evidence. The UC Berkeley researchers I mentioned earlier have been analyzing state-level minimum wage increases for the past 2 years and have consistently found results showing no loss of jobs. Similarly, the Economic Policy Institute charted out that the overall effect of raising the federal minimum wage includes substantial income gains for millions of workers and families. In cities like Seattle and Minneapolis, places that raised their minimum wages significantly, employment has remained strong and local economies have grown. The fear that raising wages destroys jobs is a myth. The evidence shows the opposite. Fair wages create stable, productive, and loyal workforces. So what can we do? We can support legislation that raises the federal minimum wage. We can advocate for increases at the local and state levels. We can support businesses that pay living wages. We can speak up, because silence keeps wages frozen, but collective action moves them forward. Raising the minimum wage is not just an economic policy, it is a moral commitment to fairness, dignity, and opportunity. It is a promise that hard work should lead to a decent life. Let's choose a future where every worker has the chance not just to survive, but to succeed. Thank you.